Hey everyone! Welcome to a new Let's Play with me, your host Tim. And today, we will begin playing through the Spirit Engine 2 together. Again! There will be a link in the lower left-hand corner that you can click on to skip ahead to the party creation step, just in case you don't want to hear me talk about the game or why we were playing it again. Should hopefully only take about 5 minutes or so. Also, I apologize for moving my cursor around, but if I don't do this, I'm unable to compress this part because there's nothing else happening on screen. Virtual Dub won't understand what's happening, so I can't compress this part down. Right. Anyway, what is the Spirit Engine 2? Well, you've probably never heard of this game, which is a shame, because this is my favorite, well, my second favorite game of all time. And the only reason it's number 2 is because it has to compete with Legacy of the Ancients, which no game is going to be able to dethrone. I tend to play through this game once every 2 to 3 years or so. The game was designed, developed, tested, marketed by one developer, Mark Pay. The music is designed, is that the proper word to describe it? Produced by Josh Wischel. Josh Wischel has released his music, so if you like the music that you hear as we play the game, up on YouTube. In fact, I think he has all the tracks up here, so you can go ahead and give it a listen if you like it. The game itself is also available for free, 100% for free, on the official Spirit Engine 2 website. Mark Pay, after I think it was 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, decided that he was going to get all the money for it that he was probably going to get from people who were purchasing it, where it was available, and release it to everyone to play. So if at any time you like what you see, please go and grab the game. I really encourage you to play it. It is a fantastic game. So what is the game? Well, Spirit Engine 2, oh wow. It is a side-scrolling, position-oriented, real-time strategy JRPG game. Yep, that about sums it up. We will follow the story of 3 characters that we will be selecting at the start. Combat works like a real-time strategy version of the Darkest Dungeon. In fact, when I backed Darkest Dungeon, I was hoping it would be more similar to Spirit Engine 2. Still like Darkest Dungeon. It's a good game. Very good game. But I was hoping for this. Right. The story has been well written, and I love the writing for it. At least for the characters that I tend to take. With that said, I've taken a various mix of characters, and I've not been disappointed with the writing in the game whatsoever. It is fantastic. It has a anime style as well, so we won't look quite like this detailed in the game, but you'll see that in a few more seconds. Or minutes. Hopefully not too much longer. If I can stay on track. Right! Why are we replaying the game, Tim? Well, we are replaying the game because I began watching my original Spirit Engine 2 playlist, and, well, as with all games I recorded 3 to 4 years ago, I was pretty disappointed with what I was watching. The video quality was low. That said, the video quality won't be high def for this game anyway, because it's just not available. But, oh man, only 10 to 15 minute videos, and I had sound and music problems in the game, which is to say that the sound and music was too loud compared to my voice in certain sections. I'm actually running the music at 4, with the maximum is 100, in order to, I think, get my voice to sound decent enough with the music playing in the background, which is a shame, because I love the music to this, and oh man, the combat is fantastic, especially, okay, wait, hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself and getting distracted. So, that is the main reason why I'm replaying the game. I was pretty unhappy with my original playlist. Plus, I will be removing the old playlist because of how unhappy I am with it once I finish this playlist of it. I think really that's about it. Oh, one more thing about the Spirit Engine 2, which I just want to get into how much I like the combat. Because this game's combat, just when you think you get a good handle on it, it begins to throw curveballs at you to begin testing your knowledge of how the combat works with new creatures, and you'll have to develop new strategies to beat these things with the skills and group that you have. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so, right, I'm done gushing over the game. I'm going to go ahead and quickly check how my voice is coming out and make sure that the music is not too loud comparatively. And everything sounds good. We'll go ahead and start a new game together. Okay, everyone. It sounds like my voice is coming out fairly well compared to the music in the game, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I think we're good to go. Really quick, 2 or 3 more things before we actually get started. First, know that the game is free now, which is why you see freeware down here, but I originally had bought in the game twice from Mark Pay's site back when it was available for purchase. And I also picked up the game again on Stardock when that had been owned. Actually, it wasn't called Stardock, it was called something else, and I can't remember now, but Stardock used to own a digital distribution platform a long time ago. They sold it off to GameStop, but the game had been available there. To my knowledge, the game is not on Steam, so you cannot grab it there. If again, you want the game itself because you really like it, or at least you like what you see, go to Mark Pay's site itself. The link will be down in the description, and you can grab it from that site. I think he has a link up to it there. Another thing is that normally I walk everywhere in games, and you'll see a lot of walking in this game, but you will see me running in this game. Now, it won't matter too much because it's a side-scrolling game and the levels are not so large. But in this game, unlike the others, well, I need to run in some spots because of how the game mechanics work, so it's going to be interesting. Finally, there's no real way for me to avoid saying it. I choke up at certain parts in this game. Like, I get super emotional because I'm a wimp. And so there'll be a few times when you'll probably detect that I'm pausing for longer than normal. This is because I'm trying to compose myself and keep whatever emotion is out of my voice from showing up. I'm a giant wimp. Okay, let's go ahead and make a group to get going. Before starting a new game, you'll need to choose the characters whose journey you'll follow. There are 3 character slots, each with 3 candidates. Each candidate can fulfill one of 3 basic roles in combat: Knight, Musketeer, or Priest. It's advisable to have one of each type in your group so that you're prepared for all eventualities. Click on a portrait to select a character. If you can't decide who you'd like to take, just stick with the 3 initially selected. Click Continue when you are ready. Okay everyone, let's describe this a little bit, just in case you're curious what the difference is between all these characters and how this works. So we have to pick a character from each row. Each row fulfills a different type of character personality. In addition, the different classes is obviously a different archetype. Fighters, or knights, are your melee, damage dealers, and tanks. The musketeers are musketeer women here. They fulfill ranged combat and support roles. Priests also fill melee combat and support roles as well. They also have ranged magic attacks. The knights get ranged magic attacks as well. They can all mix it up. Everyone has range, everyone has melee. Actually, I don't think the musketeers have melee. But you can beat the game with whatever group you want. In fact, nothing stops you from taking the 3 knights if you want to see what it is that will happen to them when you adventure forth. The game will play similarly to well, no, it won't play that way, Tim. Don't say the wrong thing. The story evolves similarly to a choose-your-own-adventure book of sorts, in that there will be points in which the same thing would happen no matter who you bring, and the conversation would be the same between the characters. The only thing different would be who is saying it. The characters up here, for example, actually, character 2 is easier for me to describe. The characters in row 2 are all young compared to the others, and they are all optimistic in their attitude compared to the others as well, maybe a little naive compared to the rest. So they would say the same types of things that role would say when certain parts of the game are reached. However, Ferwin has his own unique story compared to Charlotte, and they'd have their own conversations with different people and personalities in different towns and what have you that they go to. But the locations will all be the same that the entire group goes. So there is replayability here, especially if you want to see what everyone's story was like. And the characters interact with each other differently. Mauricius has a different attitude toward Charlotte than he has toward Ferwin, and their conversations would be completely different. The same thing with Pan Pao Sai, I should say. So for this group, I'm going to bring the group that I have currently played through the game with the most. If you're interested in playing the game and seeing other people's adventures, I highly recommend again that you pick up the game and see it. Maybe before the end of this year, I'll play through the game another time and select a whole different group of people as well. But for this adventure, we're going to stick with Mauricius as our first character. Mauricius Johann Weiss. I certainly hope I am pronouncing his first name correctly. A priest, age 47. Mauricius has spent most of his uneventful life as a priest deep in study, until the clergy of the Great Library at Preston decided that a reassignment would do him and everyone else there a world of good. There's somewhere that he really ought to be right now, but, in no hurry to arrive into his new life, Mauricius has wandered somewhat astray. For character 2, we will pick Charlotte K., self-employed, age 27. Drifting and from one noisy tavern to another, Charlotte's brash and sunny disposition hides a deep longing for an entirely different life, one of certainty and commitment that she seems unable to find. She appears to be comfortably well off, despite having no apparent source of income, and for some reason chooses to avoid setting foot in larger towns and cities. Character 3 will be Denver Holterbrook, retired guardsman, age 76. An elderly and distinguished member of the now-defunct Dragon Guard, Denver retired 14 years ago, but with no family to go home to and no other professional skills, he has found himself unable to put down his sword and abandon the only life he has ever known. Relying on his state pension and the kindness of strangers, Denver has been walking the back roads of Loreftian and helping those who cannot help themselves, trying to outrun and outfight his advancing age. Before we continue, there's one more thing we can do at this screen, which sometimes I forget to do. We're going to rename this group. So there are a few names for my parties that I like to come up with, but I think this time we'll name this group Final Hope. Okay, let's get going. Oh, I always forget about the difficulty settings. Finally, you'll need to select a difficulty setting. This affects the strength of monsters in the game. This is your first time playing, leave normal and unlocked selected and click start. If your game's difficulty is unlocked, you will be able to change it at any time if you find that normal difficulty is too hard or too easy for you. Now, I'm going to play on normal because, believe it or not, normal actually is pretty darn tough, and you can probably expect this group of heroes to fail a few times as we venture through it. I'm thinking of like 1 or 2 areas in particular, which I'll probably end up dying over and over again. Easy definitely is much easier than normal, and hard is I really feel hard is a lot harder than normal as well. Another thing I liked about the game is that it gave me a fantastic challenge. I am older now compared to when this game was first released, I want to say 13 years ago, and I am not as good at real-time strategy as I used to be. This is not a top-down real-time strategy game where we build buildings and stuff like that, but combat happens in real time. And I don't like pausing the real-time combat if I can help it. And I prefer, well, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I'm going to leave it on normal, and I'm going to lock the difficulty setting. In the previous playlist, I died, I want to say, or rather I failed. I think I failed 5 to 8 times. And when I had first picked up the game, I had failed, I want to say like 50 or more. The game was really tough. Some of the creatures, oh my goodness, and the bosses too. And I remember saying it back to easy to beat some of these things up. But this time around, we will do the whole thing on normal, and I'll keep it locked. Alright, I don't think there's any more screens, everyone. Oh, one more thing though. The game's going to throw up a lot of tutorials at us. Oh, and there's also a lot of talking. A lot of talking in the game. There's a lot of reading. So, hopefully you don't find it too annoying to listen to my voice, because there's going to be a lot of it, and I like doing the voice acting. Like, I'm not a voice actor, which everyone can tell why, because I'm really bad at it, but I'm going to try to add a little inflection to my voice whenever I'm talking for Charlotte or the like, so we're going to stick with that. And the tutorials. So, I will read most of the tutorials, and I will be pausing combat when we get started so I can explain some of the differences which are going on and explain how combat works. I will put annotations or links into the combat so you can skip my explanations and go right into the combat if you don't particularly care about reading such, or hear me trying to explain it. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1, Lights in the Forest. I've been walking all night and I'm still a long way from town. I was in a hurry to arrive, but I'm beginning to wonder if I should fear never arriving at all. With every passing minute, the stagecoach appears to have been the safer option. Who knows what dangers lurk in these dark woods, waiting to prey on lonely travelers like myself. There's something lying on the road ahead. It's hard to see in this light, but it looks like a person? A drunken vagrant, perhaps? Or a bandit? Hello? Who's there? Can you hear me? Don't try anything foolish now. I'm just a humble priest. But please help me. Oh, dear merciful Lord. The wounds are deep and there is so much blood. I cannot do anything here. You are in his hands now. I can only pray that your passing is swift and painless. Who did this to you? They found us. 3 of them. We ran, but... Oh, God. The children. I tried to hold them off, but they were too fast. Please, I beg you, you have to. Please, sir, you must try to stay calm. What children? He's gone. And so he walks the final steps upon the path we all must tread when our time is through. The lost child returns at his end in the loving embrace of the Lord. Let none mourn for him, for he dwells now upon light eternal. May the Lord pardon you whatever sins or faults you have committed in this life. May he take you gently by the hand and lead you from this place to your salvation. That is all I can do for now. It looks like my fears were justified. The shadows of these woods hide murderous intent, and I am out here alone with nothing but my staff to protect me. I should be gone from here, lest the perpetrators of this wicked crime return. By God, I have no intention of sharing this fellow's fate. I can see lamplights in the distance. A village, perhaps? I can find shelter there and return in the safety of daylight to bury this unfortunate soul. And how many others were with him? Just the 2 children. They fled east along the road, and the masked men pursued them. Such an awful spectacle. They've only been traveling with us for a few weeks, but they seem such kind and gentle folk. He was their father? I don't think so. A guardian, perhaps. They didn't speak much about themselves. In fact, they didn't speak much at all. It all happened so fast, and there was nothing we could do to protect them. The men have broken open the weapons chest and gone out into the woods with a search party, but I fear they will find only the worst. We are a peaceful, simple community, ill-equipped to defend ourselves. Hello, I think I may have found your man. His body lies some 200 feet back down the road. Alone, though. I saw no sign of any others. Then there is still hope. We 3 should get out there immediately and join the search. We 3? You must understand, dear lady. I am but a humble priest, weary from a day on his feet. The woods are dark, dangerous, and it appears full of assassins. It would be prudent to remain here until dawn and begin our search in better light. The Lord watches over us all. If it is his will that the children are to survive the night, then they shall. We can offer them our prayers from the safety of the village lights. You can't seriously be suggesting that we leave them out there. I have no faith in God to do right by those children, Father. Prayer is the last hope of the helpless, and we are far from that yet. Please join us. We need all the help we can get. We can't delay any longer. There are 3 assassins, 2 children, and we have already wasted precious time. I will search the woods south of the road. You 2 take the north. I'm frightened, Mommy. Are Isabel and Eli going to die? No, of course not, sweetie. These brave heroes are going to go out into the forest and save them. Aren't you? Yes, of course, my good woman. Offer prayers in our absence, and we shall undoubtedly be successful. Thank you. Please be careful out there. There's another stranger searching north of the road. An old guardsman who was staying the night at the village inn. You may be able to help each other. Please, could we stop for a moment? I'm not as young as I used to be, and I can't keep up this pace. That might be a good idea. We need to get our bearings. This forest is creepy, and I'm glad I'm not getting lost out here alone. For a moment back there, I actually thought you were going to refuse to help. I was. What the Lord wishes to pass shall pass. I am neither inclined nor particularly able to assist. At this rate, we're going to get ourselves killed out here too. But perhaps the Lord will look kindly upon my bravery tonight. The last few weeks, I feel as though I have not been on the best of terms with him. Maybe the two of you need some time apart. Or perhaps you just need to find a way to put some excitement back into your relationship. I hear roleplay can help. Your irreverent tone is not appreciated, young lady. This is a very serious matter I have in my mind. You're far too young to understand. I'm sorry, Father. I thought I might be able to get a smile out of you. My name's Charlotte. You are? Mauricius Johann Weiss. Pleased to meet you, Mauricius. This is a strange place to find a priest. What brings you out here at this hour? Not my own free will, I can assure you. I should be locked up warm and dry with my books in the great library at Preston, but the clergy disagree and have sent me out to preach. And so now I find myself wandering these dangerous woods at night in the damp and the cold with such ill-dressed company. Ill-dressed? Speak for yourself. I'm not the one dragging a big heavy frock through the mud. Don't you keep tripping over that thing? I was referring to the height of your neckline, miss. It leaves very little to the imagination. A young lady such as yourself should take greater care to cover herself. Care? Careful is boring, Mauricius. I've always been of the opinion that people should dress to please themselves. You're the one who's uncomfortable. I get the impression that you haven't been let out of your library much before this. I'd love to take you down to the Bow Buffer on a Friday night. I think you'd have a heart attack. If I was still welcome there, that is. Jose would probably string me up if he ever caught sight of me again. I can't say I'm going to miss the place. God, what a pit. I am not the least bit concerned that I have been spared the vulgarities of modern Loreftian by my intellectual pursuits. Nor would it surprise me to hear of them. Heavens knows this country is being driven to the gutter. I'm merely thankful that no one of any importance saw me disappearing into the woods at night with a woman of loose morals. There have been far too many scandals to tarnish the church of late. Loose morals? And now you're just being rude, Mauricius. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Come on now. You've rested that gut of yours long enough. Let's pick up the pace. Hello, and welcome to the Spirit Engine 2. These brief tutorial messages will tell us about stuff. So let's continue here. This icon pops up the menu. We won't have access to that until after the first boss fight, which will be maybe 10 minutes from now, if that. Down here, these faces, I can hover over them and see how well our characters will do in combats that they involve themselves in. It'll take a little bit to explain, but I'll get to that after this small section here. Oh, right, and sometimes the characters' heads will begin blinking, like there'll be a glow around them, and there'll be a little sound that plays, kind of hard to hear sometimes. But then if you click on that character, you'll be able to get a conversation that they would have talking about something that has just occurred. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is useful to pay attention to what happens down here when it does. This is explaining how to move. We can cover that really quick here. You just left click on the by the group, and your group will move left or right. If you move the cursor all the way to the side of the screen, your characters will run left and right instead of walk. It's actually important to know your characters can run, because later on in the game you will need to run, thanks to the game mechanics. When we hover over a character, we can see that Charlotte, in this case, her health is considered to be at 100%, and all her stuff is 100%. As the game continues, the character's moods may change, and these percentages will also be altered. Sometimes they'll do less damage, and sometimes they won't be able to take too much hits before they drop, and so on and so forth. For health, I want to mention this right now. There is no reason to prolong combat. Darkest Dungeon is a game Darkest Dungeon is similar to this game in some ways, but in this game, after combat ends, all of your characters in the group are healed to 100% of their life. There is no reason to try to prolong combat whatsoever that I can think of. If you're able to kill the creatures, kill them. There's no reason to heal up. Alright, let's get going. Okay, we're in combat. So, what happens in this game compared to Darkest Dungeon? Because it's the easiest way for me to explain it is by referring to Darkest Dungeon. And even if you haven't played Darkest Dungeon, then this will still make some sense. Our objective is to reduce all the enemies on screen, their hit points, which is the number in the red up here, to 0. When we reduce a creature's hit points to 0, a timer begins ticking, which will be displayed underneath of them, where this 100% is currently located. When this number reaches 0, the creature pops back up again. It will not have recovered all of its hit points, but it will have recovered some of them. Until all of them are knocked out at the same exact time, you won't win combat. The same happens for our heroes. We will only lose a combat if all of the characters have their hit points reduced to 0 at the same time and get knocked out. Right, so this is going over skill chains at the moment. Skill chains are a series of moves you can do in order until the combat ends. You can change it whenever you like, and it would be easier to explain combat chains later in the game when I'm able to create one. Yes, so we'll do this later. We won't cover this at the moment. This is a tutorial fight. The creatures won't be attacking us or anything of the sort, so we can skip this. Right, some other things here. In fact, let's just hit continue, and we'll just click continue again. And that's a radio menu, which I'll show you as well, and we'll finish the tutorial, and let's pause the game. So let's go over some things on the screen really quick. Oh, nice. Charlotte's getting ready for combat. Alright, so down here is a speed slider. We've currently paused combat. Nothing will happen at the moment. Slow, medium, and fast speeds are here as well. I will be attempting to play the game at non-stop normal speed, so the rabbit. For combat, right now, these are the skill chains. We'll cover them later. For this battle, however, I'll be using the radial menu instead. You can hover over a character and press the right mouse button. All the abilities that the character can use will be displayed here. In this case, we can see aim shot, yep, hover over them and it tells you what the abilities are. Now, I know what all these skills do because I played this game a lot. We'll go over the abilities after the first boss battle. As weird as that is, because I'll be able to show you the abilities using the menu here, and we'll be able to describe them a little bit better. So right now, we'll just click Lucky Shot for Charlotte to start. What else is there here? These buttons, well, let's start, and I'll show you how this works. And I think we'll just let's use Strike. All right, now we're going to unpause the game. I'm actually going to do this one on slow, so I can talk about what's happening. The characters will have this green meter, which slowly begins to fill up. After so many time units have occurred in the game, the characters can take an action if they have enough green meter to do so. I might have to lower the sound effect a little bit. The characters will consistently use abilities whenever the time units occur, and if they have enough energy to use their ability. You can pause them so that they don't react as quickly. If a character has lost all of their energy, I believe it takes them a little longer to use an ability. What else is there? We'll go over the green meter here when we're actually under attack that Rikius has. He's a priest, and all priests have a similar green meter to my knowledge. Notice that the timers are beginning to count down. In 15 more seconds, this creature will stand up. We had better kill this thing before that happens, or else, well, the combat will just keep going. Final Hope have fought 3 foes and been victorious. 36 experience points. No, we'll talk about this a little later. Hail there! I'm glad to see friendly faces. I need your assistance. You must be the man from the village whom the mayor mentioned. It's good to see you. I'm Charlotte Kay. This is Father Marikius Weiss, a member of the guard. It is an honor to meet you, sir. You must surely be tired. You had best rest and let us take over from here. Tired? If you're fortunate enough to reach an age that matches this old warhorse, consider yourself lucky if you have half my energy. There's plenty of fight left in me tonight. What did you need help with, sir? Has your search met with any success? Yes, I found one of the children. She stumbled into the grasp of a large creature dwelling in the old fountain here. It hasn't harmed her yet, thank God. I've spoken with the girl at a distance and tried to reassure her, but I don't know how long we have before it decides to make a meal of her. She's understandably quite frightened. The beast has already mauled one of our mysterious assassins and left him for dead. I was about to run back to the village for help when I heard you approach, through the undergrowth. It will take all 3 of us to drive back the creature and free her. Follow me. We don't have much time. Okay, so the game is going to now go over different damage types, but I will explain it a little better than perhaps the tutorial will. Oh, right. So I'm gonna finish the tutorial, pause the game, and now we're gonna cover a few more things which show up here. So, in combat, your characters do different types of damage depending upon which skill they are using. You can tell a little bit about what type of damage it does because of the color of the ability. We'll get into that once we get done with this battle, but I need to describe it anyway, just so it makes some sense. Damage type is either piercing, concussive, magical, ethereal, or true damage. The color of the damage in numbers which floats up from your character when you're hit help indicate the type of damage that you've taken. Piercing is blue, concussive is yellow, magical is purple, true is white, and ethereal is that kind of off gray color. Creatures, and our heroes here, have resistances against these effects as well. We can see that Denver here takes 33 less damage from piercing and concussive attacks, minus 10 from magical, and 24% is reduced from ethereal. Mauricius, as you see, has different numbers, as does Charlotte. In combat as well, there is this green meter. This is called Chi. It is effectively an additional hit points that Mauricius has, and these slowly regenerate over time during combat. This Chi shield will block any damage which is piercing or concussive in nature. Other types of damage, magical, ethereal, or true damage, ignore his Chi and will actually hurt him directly. So keep that in mind as well. We have a new button over here. This will let us pause all the characters rather than me pausing them individually. Creatures have their name, and it also indicates what level it is. This is a level 12 creature. It is a large creature, which means that we want to be using certain abilities, because some abilities that we have will affect large creatures, which in certain ways. Later on in the game, certain creatures' types will also determine some other attributes with them, but that's much later on in the game. We don't have to worry about this quite yet. We can see that magical damage is reduced by 20%, and this thing takes flat damage reduction from concussive and piercing, so we want to probably stick with that. Okay, so let's pause our character's actions, and we'll do this battle on slow as well, so I can talk about a few things. I think it's going to get to go first. Pausing. So the thing just hurled a rock at us, so now we know it has that ability. Do you see the 39? See how it's yellow? This means that this damage was concussive in nature, so Mauricius can absorb some of that with his shield. Alright, so because I can't describe the skills, you just have to trust me until we get going. That was Fortify. Fortify puts a buff on all our characters, which increases their armor. The armor is the amount of reduction that they take from all damage types. Fortify stacks, so if he uses it again, we will gain even more armor. Aim Shot, the thing that I just used Charlotte with, the ability that Charlotte used, that does an extra 30% damage to that creature. Notice that when we did the attack with Denver, he had to run forward at the creature to hit it with his melee weapon. Unlike Darkest Dungeon, where your character just, it zooms in awesomely and shows the character hit. This is really important to remember, because a melee character needs to run a good distance to hit something if he's got to cross half the battlefield to reach it. So if timing is important, you want to make sure that your melee strikers are up front rather than in the back, like what I just did. Charlotte can put forward this wall of powder imps, is what it's called. The creature will have to destroy this wall before it can hurt us. That ability is Damn. It reduces the creature's armor by a flat 15 and 7% for everything it would normally be blocking, so its resistances are almost 0 at the moment. I should have waited to use these characters' at least Denver's strike, until after Damn had been on the creature. Note that we're running up and hitting this creature here. If there was a creature behind it, our melee attacks, and even, or rather, let me rephrase, any non-targeted attack has to get through this creature first. The only two abilities I have which aren't targeted are an ability on Denver called Sword Faith, and the Damn ability Mauricius has. They have to attack this front creature with all their other abilities. Positioning really matters. Denver, it will be a good tank for us. That was a heal that Denver has. It heals himself some hit points. I'm going to put Charlotte up front to take a single hit for us. Charlotte, as a musketeer, all the musketeer girls, they've all got an ability called Dodge, which gives them a flat chance to for the attack, whatever it was, to completely miss her. There's something else displayed here as well. Do you see this 106% there? This is a damage multiplier. The more you hit a creature, the more this multiplier will increase. After a certain amount of time has elapsed, it will begin to decrease. Our own characters have the same. Notice that his chi is slowly beginning to regenerate as well. And notice how quickly the percentage goes down. I did that to show you something important. Note that when it threw the rock at us, it didn't hit Denver. It hit Mauricius, because he had been charging forward. And it so happened that when he hit the creature, well, this creature's attack went off. Remember that when it comes to attacking creatures with melee damage. You also have noticed that I've been moving people around, which I totally didn't describe. You're able to send people into different positions in your group. You can send people to the front or the back. Or I think the front is by a left click. The back is with a middle click. You'll need to rotate people around if you want to get the keep them alive. Looks like we're going to defeat this thing. What's funny is that I haven't even... As you guys are watching this fight, I'm just staring at all my characters' abilities and their status to make sure we're looking okay. And it looks like we're going to beat this thing up. One more good hit will do it. Who gets the privilege of doing it? Final Hope has fought one foe and been victorious. They earned 360 experience points, and we gained 2 levels. Isabel! It is Isabel, isn't it? Can you hear me? Yes, I'm Isabel. Hello, miss. How do you do? I'm doing just fine, thank you. We were more worried about you. Are you hurt? I think I'm okay. I'm just scared. Is the monster gone? I have no idea. The well is deep and dark, and I can't see far down it. We heard it, though. There's ichor dripping down the walls. Ardo said we were safe from the monsters so long as he was with us. The men in masks, they wouldn't stop stabbing him. And Ela and I ran away. Where is Ardle? I'm so sorry, Isabel. He must have fought bravely, but he was found dead. There wasn't anything that could be done. He told us to leave him, but we didn't want to. And now he's... We should probably move along. I can't tell whether this thing is dead or not, but I don't think we should be here if it comes back. Isabel, where's your brother? Did he come this way too? I don't know. Ela and I were running together, and then I tripped and... It's gonna be alright, Isabel. You're in safe hands now. We're not gonna let anything happen to you. Stay behind us, and we'll go and find him together. You now have access to the menu system. Okay, so let's access this really quick. From the skill menu, okay, so I'm going to finish the tutorial and describe this to you guys. We've earned 2 skill points because we've earned 2 levels. Every so often, I want to say every other level, but it might not be the case, we will gain a refund point. You can assign points to skills by clicking the left button, and you can unassign them using refund points by hitting the right mouse button instead. You can't make, well, There is no bad decisions, but I'm a fan, as usual, of heavily investing in a few skills to make them really good. All the characters have different sets of skills as well. Mauricius has different skills than Charlotte has, who has different skills than Denver does. The skills they get are based on their archetype. Priests, Mauricius, or Inshadu, or Payan Pao Sai, Priests will draw from the same pool of skills. They will always have the same skills when you select them, which is to say that Mauricius, he always has the same stuff whenever you select Mauricius. However, as the game goes, well, and then later on in the game, he'll have access to more. Later on, he'll get access to 2 others, and then a little further on, he'll get access to his last 2. Everyone has access to 10 total skills. When they get them, though, depends upon what happens in the story. Priests, I think there's 1 or 2 skills that the priests, that differ between the priests. Mauricius will not get 2 skills that Pai and Pao would get, and in Shadow might have a different mix compared to those 2 priests. The same for Charlotte as well. Charlotte has Lucky Shot, and a different type of markswoman might not have Lucky Shot compared to, so if we had taken Grace, for example, she'd have High Fire, perhaps at this point. But Charlotte will never get High Fire throughout this adventure. All the knights have all the same exact skills. There will be nothing different about them other than what they're starting with and what they'll get and when they'll get the skills they don't have later on in the game. For example, Denver has Slay, but I think the first knight who we had seen, actually I didn't even click on him, he has an ability called Hack instead to start and does not have Slay. At least I think that's the case. With that said, there is some commonality between all of them as well. All the characters have Fortitude. This will increase their hit points, and priests will also get some chi. All priests have Chosen, all markswomen have Lucky Lady, and all knights have Might. Chosen increases the priest's magical and ethereal resistances by a percentage. Lucky Lady increases the markswoman's dodge, and knights gain more damage to their abilities and more armor by taking more points in Might. Okay, so let's go over these skills now. There will have been a link up here somewhere to skip ahead to avoid this part, just as a heads up. So, I like passives, and everyone has 2 passives, so we'll put... Oh, one more thing. You are not able to put points into ability greater than 25% of that character's level. So, or 1/4 might be a better way to describe it. Mauricius is level 8, so until he hits level 12, we cannot put a 3rd point into Damn and Wrath. We can hold on to these 2 free skill points if we so wish, but we're not going to be benefiting from them, obviously, until we dump them into things. So, I'm going to go ahead and just place them into abilities right now. I'm going to go ahead and take a point in Fortitude. Oh, and you can see down below, see the description? You can see that he's currently getting 145 from skill points, which is nothing, and he has 320 chi. Putting 1 point in this increases those numbers. We have 1 more point to place. I think I do like... Okay, so actually we should cover what all these do. So, Strike, we've seen Mauricius use it. He runs forward with his staff and smacks something for concussive damage. You can also tell what type of damage it is because of the color of the icon and the color of the text down below. This is yellow, so I know just by glancing at it that does concussive damage. You can also see that it does an extra 25% damage to undead or demons. I'll go ahead and take another point in this. Blessing. This increases the level of the skills that are used by the character that it's targeted with. So, when this ability is selected in combat, I can select one of the other characters, or Mauricius can select himself, and when he uses Blessing, it will affect his character, and it will increase the ranks of these abilities that he would use, in this case, by 2. It doesn't work on Bless, Brace, Charge, or Smokescreen. We don't have access to any of those, except for Bless, with our current character group, but these abilities are really powerful. There are also flat reductions for damage. So Brace is a flat reduction, a massive percentage reduction for a knight. Charge is a massive damage increase for a knight, and Smokescreen is a flat dodge percentage for the entire party, given by various markswomen. In any case, currently it raises these levels by 2, as if we have put 2 more points into those skills. We've seen Damn. It's a targeted skill. We'll get into that a little bit later. It lowers the target's armor and resistances by 7%. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, its armor reduction is 17 so far, and I guess resistances is just a flat -7. We have Wrath, which is a ranged attack from Mauricius. It deals magic damage and does 25% extra damage to undead and demons. and we've already seen Chosen. Charlotte has Aim Shot. It deals 30% extra damage to large foes and deals piercing damage. Explosive Cell does Concussive. It does less than Aim Shot, as you can see, only 67 compared to 84, but when it strikes an enemy, it also will damage another foe if that foe is close enough to the enemy that it strikes. Generally, you'll be able to hit the front creature and the creature behind it, but if Charlotte used it on a creature that had rushed at us to attack us, and it had been the only one that had done so, and it wasn't close up to anything else on the enemy line, it would only have hit that creature, so timing is important when you use Explosive Shell. Lucky Shot deals magic damage to everything, well, does magic damage to all the enemies on the screen. It does more damage to the creatures it hits later in the row. So the first creature it hits, it will hit for 54, the second creature takes more damage, and the last creature takes even more than the second creature. Powder Imps, we've seen Powder Imps. This is a wall. We can see that it has 118 hit points. And we've seen Lucky Lady, dodge 35%. So I'm going to take a point in Fortify, and I think we'll take a point into... We'll take a point into Powder Imps. For Denver, Slay is piercing damage with an extra 30% damage against large creatures, so it's more or less like Aim Shot, but it requires him running up to the creature to smack it. Recover is his heal. Sword Faith is a targeted skill. It's very similar to Wrath that Marikius has. However, because it's targeted, it doesn't have to hit the first creature in the way. Fortify is a buff, which, as you can see, increases the armor of the party by 8. Alright, we have 2 free points to place in things. I think I will take a point in Fortitude and another one in Sword Faith to start. Okay, let's go ahead and continue adventuring. I'll click on these after I save the game, so just a few seconds, everyone. I actually will be describing more stuff, so there'll be various annotations and links you can click on if you just want to see more of the game. Alright, and this is a safe spot. Once you walk directly in front of it, you'll be able to save your game. Oh, I made a giant mistake when I was cleaning up my save files before. We only have one save spot, so this is a mistake, and I need to fix this. Okay, I'll be right back, everyone. Okay, that was really my fault. What I had done was I cleaned up all the save directories that this game creates, and in doing so, I eliminated the save ability of the game except for one single directory. This is normally what it would look like. You'd have quite a few save slots to save your characters in, as opposed to just the single slot you saw before. Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about skill chains now. There'll be a link up here where you can skip ahead in case you don't want to figure out in case you don't want to hear me say what skill chains are and explain how to set one up. We are going to use them, however, in the next battle. I'm also going to quickly cover the rest of the tutorial bits, which will show up here in this menu. Okay, so I've already clicked on skill chains and set up a few off screen. Skill chains are a series of abilities that you can have a character perform without any other input from you other than selecting that skill chain. If you like just watching your characters do things without your input, beyond setting it up to begin with, this is a really rewarding way to play the game, and I really enjoy skill chains. The problem with them, however, is that using just skill chains, unless you set up a skill chain for each individual skill, makes it very difficult for you to react to things as they begin to occur in combat, because skill chains are set in stone, whereas the radial menu is not. In any case, this is how you set up a skill chain. And actually, let's spend a few more seconds to describe what it would be like if we were playing a game like Darkest Dungeon. In Darkest Dungeon, let's pretend that you have your highwayman. A skill chain for him would be something that you name, so we'll say you name it, I don't know, Master Gunner. And for his first ability, you say, okay, for the skill chain, for the first round, for the first action you're going to do, I want you to shoot the enemy in the 3rd rank. For the second ability you're going to do, you're going to shoot the enemy in the 4th rank. And for the first ability, and then for the 3rd ability you're going to use Duelist Advance. And what will happen is that your highwaymen, without any input from you other than you, when the battle begins, selecting Master Gunner, would do those actions in those orders against those enemies until you decide you wanted him to do something different, without requiring any other input. Now, it's not quite the same because this is a real-time game and Darkest Dungeon is turn-based, so Darkest Dungeon, it makes more sense to select whatever you would like. But in this game, when things are going crazy and there's lots of stuff happening on the screen, which will be happening starting in Chapter 2 significantly, or rather, much more than in Chapter 1, these can be helpful in having someone do something while you worry about other characters, especially if you like playing the game on a faster speed selection, which I certainly do. Anyway, so let's give you an example. So here is Fire and Brimstone on Mauricius. He will start by damning the nearest enemy. He'll then use Wrath, wait a tiny bit, use Wrath again, wait a tiny bit, and then go back to the beginning of the skill chain, which is over here. When you make a skill chain to do something like this, I highly recommend you at least click on this little checkbox here, just to check things. So what does this do? Well, with it selected, it means that if I select the Fire and Brimstone skill chain, Mauricius won't start using it until I acknowledge it by clicking on a different symbol that shows up, but effectively means start. Similar to how we had the giant orange pause buttons, this one will be blue in color instead. Selecting it, though, also lets you test a skill chain. If it begins blinking like this, it means that your character cannot complete this skill chain without running out of energy, and he will become exhausted. So it is important to put pauses occasionally in the skill chain to make sure your character has enough energy to complete it without running out. Let's go ahead and make a skill chain for Denver. He still has the battle one, which the game produced for me automatically. And as you can see, I've also produced these off screen. To delete a skill chain, select it and press the delete button on your keyboard, or delete key. Okay, so let's set up something for him. So let's have him use Sword Faith on the selected enemy. He'll then pause for a tiny bit, heal himself, and then use Sword Faith on the selected enemy again. Now if I just select this, oh, he's good. He'll start again all over, but he'll immediately use Sword Faith again. So I'm going to have him pause, and then go back to the beginning. And then let's name this. You also have party skill chains. This is the equivalent of setting up a series of skills that you want your entire group to use together in cohesion or synchronized with each other. This way Mauricius could be set, for example, in Fire and Brimstone. Charlotte could have been set to Big Game Hunter, and Denver could be set to Wrath of God. And they'll do these things, but maybe you have an idea for some stuff you want to do to set up a large amount of damage, or have it so that your characters can protect each other while they set up a large hit on an enemy. Party chains will let you do this without having to micromanage the character's individual skill chains or the like. So for example, let's have Mauricius go ahead and bless both Charlotte and Denver, wait a little bit, and then use Wrath. Actually, let's do this, Tim. That's fine. Oop, hitting the wrong buttons. Charlotte will pause to start to make sure she gains blessing, as will Denver. Actually, no, this is a mistake. We'll use Powder Imps to start to shield us, and Denver will use Fortify. Actually, Denver will, use Fortify. We'll then pause Charlotte. Denver will use Sword Faith against a selected enemy, and then pause. Charlotte will use a Lucky Shot, an Explosive Shell, and pause. While Denver will then go use, I think he'll use another Sword Faith, and pause again. There we go. And it's all good. We all have what we need to be able to use this without running out of energy. Let's rename it to Tim's Example Party Chain. Cool. Oh, after you make chains, I highly recommend you save the game again, or it won't take your changes. So if you die and you made a new chain and it didn't work out for you, well, you're gonna have to remake that chain again. Anyway, oh, we're not quite done yet. So that's chain information here for the party. We also have our info, which we can see that we're locked to normal difficulty, and we can see our level, etc., etc. here. finally, for all the people we have in inventory, we haven't even gotten to inventories yet because we won't have to worry about this quite yet. We'll cover this a little bit later when we reach Chapter 2. I'll just say that we will never have enough money to buy all the stuff we want, so your choices when it comes to inventory really freaking matter. All the characters also have a journal. If you put the game down for a little bit and come back, you can read the characters' thoughts to see what it is that they, well, how they're handling the current situation and what they think they're doing. All the journals are written with the character's personality in mind, and they all write their own notes about what is happening. I will not read these on screen, but I have read them, and I love these. It adds a lot of personality to the characters. You can just pause the game if you wanted to read them. I'll occasionally try to remember to go ahead and bring up their journals. After any major event, I believe they'll write about such in their journals. Okay, let's get back to finding Eli. Alright, and here we have the area map for Chapter 1. So, we started here, it's no longer glowing for us, and we have a new place we can go to, the Misty Hollow. There won't be too many places to go in Chapter 1, but later chapters will have a few places you can go to besides just 1 or 2. In addition to this, you won't have to explore all the locations if you don't want to. As long as you can reach whatever your objective is supposed to be, you can just make your way right there. But I highly recommend you go to each location. Locations will have treasure chests in them once we're outside of Chapter 1. And those treasure chests will be really important. They can contain gold and other pieces of equipment. Treasure chests always have, to my knowledge, the same equipment in them for every game. So if you know what was in the treasure chest the first time you played through the game, you will know what's there the second or millionth time you go through it. You don't get random stuff from them. You can double back as well and continue to kill creatures, but creatures do not drop any loot. They only drop experience, and they drop less experience as you gain levels. But you will gain levels for just entering new chapters as well to try to keep you up to date with the creatures you'll be fighting. I have never found that I needed to farm in this game. Okay, let's get going. That little boom sound right there looks like Denver has something to tell us. Many of the gelatinous creatures which inhabit Blue Feather Forest have a high resistance to piercing damage. It would be wise not to use attacks which deal piercing damage against them. And that is why I also did not set up any skill chains with piercing damage, because I know we're fighting slimes in this area. This little tutorial is going over the combat modifier at the moment. So, yep, the importance of smacking enemies to death. Oh, I didn't cover this. Okay, right. So, that green meter, which has been filling up and represents the energy that our characters have, which they expend to make attacks, heal each other, etc., etc. Well, if you decide to hold on to it, your green bar will begin to change color, and eventually it will become this yellow color. Then when you use, well, it looks like if you use any skill, they get a large bonus to whatever skill they decide to use. This will become very important later, when we need to be able to kill creatures which have a great deal of armor with one solid giant hit. In this game, you will find it difficult to beat some of the battles or some of the creatures by just endlessly attacking them. You will not win if you do that in certain parts of the game. You must use all of the tactics that this game lays out in front of you, all the options the game has, and understand them if you want to beat the game, or you will not do so. Okay, so here we go. Let's pause the game really quick. Whenever you encounter new creatures, it always pays to look at those creatures first. You want to make sure that you do damage to them, because if their resistances prevent you from doing, like if you want to use Hack, like Denver currently has selected, against the Hilo comp right here, well, notice that the piercing damage he's going to inflict, it's reduced by 20, and then by 50%. So he won't inflict any real damage to it. He should be using Sword Faith, or he should be blocking for the rest of the group. And the Celiocamph is the same exact thing. It just looks a little different, and has more hit points than this one. And that makes me also think that they might have different types of attacks. I'm going to play on slow until I take damage from them, because I would like to see what type of damage these creatures do. And the only way to find out is to watch the numbers float above you in the color appropriate to the damage they dealt. One final thing, we've got Isabel back here. She has 105 hit points. Sometimes you'll get NPCs who adventure with you. You can't control them. They will decide to do whatever it is that they're going to do. Isabel here won't attack anything. She's just going to look really angry at them. But if for some reason everyone fell down and Isabel was still up, technically we've got a few seconds to hope someone stands back up, because Isabel counts as a member of our party at the moment. Okay, so here we go. Let's select Wrath of God. I'll select this ability, and we'll select Covering Fire. So I've selected their individual skill chains at the moment, so they will use whatever was inside of them. Selecting an enemy to use a selected skill, all you have to do is click on that character. Oop, that was a mistake. I wasn't paying attention to the damage type it did. I'll have to pay attention when the next thing makes its attack. On Denver should actually be using Sword Faith because he hasn't taken any damage. I still wasn't paying attention to the type of damage that we were dealt, so let's accelerate it anyway. Concussive. Or this one at least does concussive. Seconds. Get it? No, I think this one might just barely stand up. I'm going to pause Charlotte to make sure that her concussive shot will hit both of these things. Final hope I fought 2 foes and been victorious. We also gain a level. Oh, look at Isabel. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and increase some of our stats. So let's take Might. Charlotte will take Lucky Lady. Umbragus will take Chosen. I'm a big fan again of the passives, so I definitely will want to keep putting points in them. Hold it right there! Identify yourselves! Hey, there's no need to wave that thing at us. We've come from the village to help. Really? I don't recognize any of you. Can't be too careful out here. It's alright, sir. We have one of the missing children with us. Is that you, Isabel? Oh, thank goodness you're all right. What about Mr. Trisgeliak? Eli? Their guardian is dead, I'm afraid. We're still looking for Isabel's brother. She said he might have come through this way. Aye, he may well have. You've been following a trail here. Paulson picked it up about half a furlong back, didn't you? That I did. There's a lot of broken undergrowth and 2 sets of footprints. One large, one small, headed east at a great pace. That poor kid, he's losing ground. We'd have gone further, but Belter here tripped over a nightbug and earned himself a nasty gash. I didn't trip over it. It leapt out of the dark at me like a black lightning, all teeth and claws. I'm lucky it only sank its nasty little teeth into my leg. We had to stop and tend to him. We can't afford to leave anyone out here alone, not with those murderers on the loose. We're starting to lose our bearings already. There's only the pale moon and those infernal circling fireflies to light our way through these woods. We've got no compass, no map, and we're a long way from the village now. He's right, you know. I can't tell north from south, and I have no intention of getting lost out here too. The boy may be long gone by now. We should think of turning back whilst we still can. There's no need for us to give up yet. So long as the cloud cover is sufficiently light, I can read our bearings from the alignment of the Altar's constellation and Garithus on the far horizon. The village is back in that direction. We can continue the search from here. You, your men, and Isabel should head back as soon as you're able. If you're going on, I want to stay with you and find Eli, please. Aye, fine. We'll turn back once we get Belter back on his feet. I just hope you 4 have better luck than we did. Great, got ourselves a regular little party here. Let's hurry, please, before a simple change of weather foils Denver's marvelous tracking skills. Oh, he's wrapping up the leg. Oh, look at them armed with pitchforks. They're out here with whatever they can to try to save the children. A new enemy! What is this thing? A firefly. Oh, not as resistant to piercing damage as these things is, but still resistant to a little bit of everything. Not a lot of hit points on it, though. We should watch to see what type of damage it does, though. Anyway, let's go ahead and use, this time, we'll use Tim's example skill chain. That was magical damage. which means that would have inflicted 68 points of damage immediately to Mauritius's life. I think I want her up front. This is gonna go up. Wow, nice. And it's dead, just like that. Everyone's pausing to recover some of their stuff. And this is it. This is what the game is like when you use skill chains. All you have to do is make sure I'm selecting the correct things, and that characters look like they're prepared to use their abilities against things properly. Pausing the game at certain points is really important as well. You want to make sure you don't... Well, not pausing the game. Pausing your combat. Pausing what your characters are doing. And I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. I should not be pausing the game. I should be trying to kill that thing. I will wait till this creature stands up before I use this shot, because I want to get the bug. Once it's up. Awesome. Good work, everyone. Oh, I increased the volume by, I think, 2 points. I hope it's not too loud now. I'll double-check the recording when I'm done. Oh, hello. I hear voices in the distance. We must be getting close. And this is a group of just pure jellies. Okay, no problem. We'll use Tim's example skill chain again. You do it, guys. Yep, get that stuff going. I'm gonna try to kill one as quickly as I can. Actually, we can get them all. No, I should try to kill one as quickly as I can, just to spread out the damage to everybody. Rotate Marcus to the front so he can take the next hits, thanks to his chi. Right! The AI will also rotate its things around to keep them alive as well, which I really like. Makes it very difficult to try to definitely get the one that we're trying to kill. Oh, we've totally got this. Let's change up things a tiny bit. Awesome. One level. So you see that you can also interrupt your skill chains to replace what you were about to do with something better for the situation. Okay, we got another skill point. So I really want to take Wrath and Dam up a rank. I really like these abilities on Mauritius. I also want to take... Oh, well, Aim Shot. Yeah, let's take another point in Aim Shot. And Deniver, I think we'll take a point in Slay with you. Remember again that the character's life, or hit points, gets fully restored at the end of each combat. So there is no reason to delay combat. Malathin's Bluff. Hold still, boy. This has to be done. It will be quick and painless. No, please, mister, don't hurt me. I haven't done anything. Hold it right there. You're cornered and there's no way out. Don't even think about doing anything stupid. Back away from the lad and keep your hands where we can see them. No. Stay back, you fools. You must not interfere with. The girl. She lives. Yes. Terribly sorry about that. One of your friends wasn't quite so lucky. This really isn't turning out to be a good night for any of us. Very well. For all our sakes, I shall make you this offer once. Walk away from this business, strangers. It is none of your concern. Leave the girl here and depart. Assist us, and the keepers can see to it that you are compensated with riches beyond your wildest dreams. Deny us, and my brothers shall hunt you to the ends of Medea for your meddling. Great heavens above, you sorely underestimate the quality of our character if you think we would leave either of these children in your hands now. Absolutely. Stay where you are, stranger. This is a citizen's arrest. We'll see what the local inspectorate make of your behavior. No, there is too much at stake. You leave me no choice. Nothing must remain. Eli! They're gone. There's almost no trace of them left. I've not seen alchemy of this kind before. It left nothing here but a cloud of ash and sulfur. We couldn't reach him in time. Why would he do such a thing? Oh, Eli, no. Don't weep, child. There is no cause for sadness. The boy rests forever in the eternal, loving embrace of the Lord, where we all must go when our time here is over. Ah, poor Isabel. Oh dear, I'm really not much good with children. Could one of you two help me out here? She appears to be in some distress, and I don't know how to calm her down. Oh, for heaven's sake, have you no heart? She needs to be held. Fine, you handle her. I shall offer prayers for the lost child, but shouldn't someone be keeping an eye out for the third assassin? That fiend is still on the loose. Yes, he is. If he's not intending to ambush us on our return, he could be retreating to find more of his kind as we speak. I can't see any more that we can do here. We should return to the village. It isn't wise to stay out in the forest any longer than we have to. Finally, I've had just about enough of this madness tonight. Let's hope this is the end of it. We can go back and do different battles. We can even revisit Nelethan's Bluff if we so wish, but we're just going to go back to the Walking Village. I don't think there's anything in any of these locations. Here you are. We were beginning to worry that you might need rescuing yourselves. You have the girl alive. Where is the other child? Well, the boy is dead. We couldn't get to him in time. For what it's worth, 2 of the assassins have perished too. Oh no, poor Eli. How could anybody do such a horrible thing? Merciful heavens, this is an awful business indeed. We're close to the border here. Do you think the murderers were Yagaran? Those fiends might do such a thing. I don't believe so, though I've never heard of these keepers before. They left no indication as to who they were or what they wanted here. I'm so sorry. I wish we could have done more. No, you mustn't be too hard on yourselves. Without your help, both children would surely have perished. It is a miracle you were here to save her. There was nothing at all we simple townsfolk could have done alone. There's nothing more that we can do if these monsters return to try again. You're absolutely right, Mayor. The girl cannot stay here. These assassins will be back, and next time you won't be so lucky. If you like, I can take custody of her. I'm traveling east towards Kelstarin. She will be safe with me, I can assure you. It would be unwise for anyone to try to look after the child alone. We don't know who wants her dead or why. We should let the authorities take charge of her well-being. Being this close to the border, the army should be our first option. Longreach is not far from here. We could leave her in their custody for the time being. On the edge of the Great Plains? You think she'll be safer next to a potential war zone? Surrounded by 12,000 soldiers in the strongest fortress of all Loreftian? I spent many nights stationed there as a guardsman, and I cannot think of anywhere safer. Denver's ideas sound sensible. With someone to watch over her night and day, we would be free to make some inquiries about her situation without putting her at risk. This is quite unnecessary. An army fort is no place for a young girl. I'm quite happy to look after her myself. I'm sure she'd prefer that. Maybe we should let Isabel decide for herself. What do you think, Isabel? I don't know, really. But if I have to go anywhere, I want to go with you three. Very well. Please excuse my outburst. I was only concerned for the child's safety. She seems to know what she wants, though. Be sure to take good care of her, and tell no one where you're taking her. Goodbye, Isabel. I hope you've chosen wisely. What's up with her? I don't know. Perhaps she was just angry that she couldn't have done more to help? I know how she feels. I hope we haven't offended her. You should go and pack, Isabel. You have a long walk ahead of you. Do you have much to carry? Not really. We didn't take much when we left home, and now that Ardell and Eli are gone. Come with me. I'll help you sort your belongings out. I'm so glad that we have this settled. I'm sure Isabel would be much safer with the three of you than she was hiding in her humble village. Hold on a moment. I've had a rather lot of excitement for one evening, and I was hoping to see an end to this business. Are you still looking for my help? It's all right, Mauricius. We understand that you must have other priestly duties to attend to. If you would prefer to stay, we ought to be able to manage without any further assistance. Longreach is not too far west of here. If we make good time, we can be there by tomorrow afternoon. It's alright. I'm rather warming up to the idea. My parish can go a little longer without me, and I can certainly go a little longer without them. It's rare that charitable work and fine excuses make good companions. Perhaps Charlotte is right. I could do more good out on the road enforcing God's gentle will with my staff than I can offering prayer from the comfort of a church. I have certainly had a taste of adventure tonight. Oh, this is wonderful! The three of us will make a great team. When do we leave? Immediately. It would be wise to move swiftly and under the cover of darkness in case the horned assassins return in greater numbers. Do you feel up for a long walk, Isabel? I do. Please, let's go now. I just want to leave. Then we should away. To Longreach and safety. So long, and take care, strangers. May fortune smile upon you all.